Hey, how are we doing, boys and girls? Welcome back to some more Grey Zone Warfare. Today, we're going to be going over 0.3. I'm going to list all the things coming out, what we know about so far, for the people who just want a quick list. And then I'm going to go over, in detail, over the things I'm really excited about and my kind of thoughts on certain things and why I think 0.3 is really going to change the way Grey Zone Warfare is going to be played in a good way. This update, as much as it is firstly originally stated as a catering to the PvP players, it really does add a lot of things to both players, PvP and PvE. A lot of the PvP stuff also, affects in a positive way the PvE players. So there's a lot of things coming we do want to talk about. I'm just going to go down on a list of the things which are coming, and then, like I said, talk about the things I'm really excited about. So we've got some gameplay going for you guys. I'm going to go through a list of things which are coming in 0.3 if you're not aware of them or you haven't been following. And then we're going to go into detail about some of the more quality of life things and the things I'm really, like I said, looking forward to. So, PvP zones coming. These are going to be like highlighted little zones around the map, letting you know where combat has just started against a faction. And it's going to give you more ideas where you need to go if you're looking for PvP. It's going to highlight around the area where these places are, so it gives you a chance to go and help players out, maybe avoid LZs, things like that. You have COPs. Now these are capture, occupy and protect points, little POIs, basically bases scattered all around Le Mans, all between the POIs, the high tier POIs, everywhere. And you can capture these as a faction and control them, and these will act as spawn points and places where you can re-kit up, things like that. You don't have to keep traveling back from your base every single time. If you die, you don't have to. You can just spawn at one of these COPs. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Task rework system coming in. We have a weather system where it means like rain, cloudy weather. I think this is going to actually affect PvP in a really cool way at night time. We'll talk about that later on. We have mortar strikes coming in, which you can buy, and I think they're going to cost you quite a bit to buy, but you can call in like a devastating artillery strike in certain places, and that could turn the tide of the fight, right? So mortar strikes are going to be coming in. We have now squad tasks, and we're going to talk about squad tasks a little bit more in detail because there's a really big quality of life thing, which I know a lot of people are asking about, and we'll talk about that later on. Improved health system. We've got dragging down teammates. So if a teammate is not fully dead, just in a coma, you can now grab them and pull them to safety, and then work on them and get them back up into the fight and not pray that you're just going to not get shot in the open. Really, really handy. We have the friend and foe identification. Now, this is going to be a good one to help when, especially you're in the midst of battle in PvP. There's going to be a few better ways to figuring out who is a friend and who is an enemy. We'll talk about that a little bit more. Localization in terms of now new languages added to translate content, and a ton of quality of life improvements across the board, things which haven't been mentioned yet, but we're going to go over some of these quality of life improvements now. So going over some of these quality of life improvements, you can now manage tasks while deployed. So you can accept and deliver tasks while in the field. Even at the combat post, you can kind of respawn there, restock, things like that. And so going around capturing those COPs are going to be handy because it's going to give you more options where you can respawn. And this is, like I said, both good for both PvP and PvE. These COPs, these captured control points, which are scattered about, are for both sides, not just PvP, also PvE. And so you can have more control, more spawn points as a PvE player with these. Really, really awesome. Now, one of the biggest ones is going to be the share elimination task in a squad. And I'm going to have a little thing up, just pop up, kind of just showcasing like the squad tasks coming up. But the reason I want to talk about this is you can now, as a squad, complete those kill missions, those kill the boss missions around in the starting area, wherever you're doing it. If you are in a squad, even if you haven't got the task yet, maybe you're a little bit behind the squad, if you're in there and you're participating, you're in a certain area of your squad and they kill the boss, that is now marked off for you too. So you can now go back to your base, go and maybe hand in a few more tasks, and then you get that kill the boss task. And because you're a part of the squad who killed the boss, that automatically gets completed for you. This is huge. This is a really big thing, and it's actually going to encourage people to squad up, I think. When you start playing 0.3 and the wipe happens, I would 100% suggest trying to get a squad going and working together to get your things done. Because even if you haven't, even if someone is a bit further ahead and they kill the boss while you're in the squad, you're going to get that done for you. So it's going to help kind of amplify your progress a little bit, especially at the start of town if you want to kind of get out into the other POIs. This is going to be really awesome. Talking about the start of town progress, they've all worked the way the game kind of starts now in terms of the start of town. I think it's going to be a lot faster to get those missions done. It's something they talked about where I think an average of trying to get the missions done in the start of town were between 5 to 6 hours, right? So they want to like lower it down to around 50 minutes to an hour, maybe 2 hours tops to get those done, right? So you're not spending as much time in the start of town. You can get out and start doing and exploring the other POIs, which is the main part of Grey Zone. The start of town is really just there to kind of like, you know, introduce you to certain mechanics, do a few missions, get your kind of grips, and then you go out and adventure out, right? So they're kind of lower down the start of town progress, which is really good. There's going to be new containers coming in. So to help you with your stash, you know, especially me, I'm OCD as hell. They're adding more containers to add and store things. And there's a lot of things you can now do. I'm going to have again coming up on here, just a little showcase of the containers and the fact that you can now sort your stash. All right, you can actually like sort it in like rows. This is something that I've been accustomed with Delta Force, where you can just sort your stash in certain categories, like weapons first, bags then, you know, ammo, then parts, grenades. You can now do that in Grey Zone Warfare. And there's going to be, you know, new containers you can store your stuff in. One of the things I've noticed with the containers at the minute, for example, is you can store your guns, but you can't store like certain parts from the gun. I like to like take the grip, or not the grip, the magazine out, for example, and yeah, and the grip, and you can like turn it into a 1x4 gun and use up more or less slots. And I couldn't put the grip or the magazine into that case. Now you can actually like, you know, sort your stuff out a little bit more with the containers, a little bit more forgiving of what you add into there. They're going to have grenades. You can some stash now into these containers, more different containers, and I think you can also find these containers as really rare loot out in the open. So again, another reason to explore loot and search. You can now possibly find these. They're not just tied to, I think, missions. So really, really awesome. I can't wait for that. You can now identify friendlies faster, and again, I'm going to have up on the screen just a little picture to showcase this. There's like a band on their arm, and from my understanding, this band is like illuminated at night when you're wearing night vision from my from what I got from Corey. So you're going to be able to figure out who is friend and foe even at night. On top of that, I'm going to again show another video coming up. And this is just to show weapon damage, but there's like weapon damage into the game, obviously, which you can now repair, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But notice what they're saying when that's shooting. I'll just go quiet so you can see.
Blue on blue. Watch your targets. Check your fire. You're hitting friendly.
There's a person there talking. You're shooting at someone, you know, and you're in your enemy. If you start shooting at someone nearby, maybe you don't hit them. Or, you know, maybe you hit them once in the leg or something, or you don't kill them, but you do hit them. You're going to get like a little notification saying, that's a teammate, don't shoot them. And then you can quickly stop shooting them and then go to maybe shoot the enemy, right? So this is going to be really handy. This is like to add into that kind of identifying who your friend, you know, your friends are, who's the enemy, things like that. On top of the armbands, which do look like they'd be quite easy to see. And you just obviously when you see an enemy, the first thing you should be checking is their arm. Is there an armband there or not? If there's no armbands, shoot them, you know? So that's going to be pretty handy. I still encourage to check your mini map. Whenever you're fighting, quickly bring up your little map and to check it just to make sure. But, you know, in those kind of situations where it's kind of close quarters, you can't use that map really. That's not when you can't use it. So these are going to be really, really handy. You can now shoot out the lights. Now, this again sounds like a simple thing, but when you actually think about it, when you're going into like darker areas like YBL, for example, or any room in the fort area, for example, player or AI, if you're shooting out those lights, and I think grenades will affect this too, that means that you can use your night vision to your advantage, and AI is not going to be able to see you as easily. And players who haven't got night vision with them are not going to be able to see you as easy. Especially in like places like YBL, where it doesn't matter if it's daytime outside. If you're in the bunker part at the bottom, if you start shooting out those lights, and now just came along with no night vision, they're going to be a hell of a disadvantage. You're going to be able to see them, especially if you're like an infrared laser on and you got your night vision on. That's going to be a huge advantage to you, and they're going to have no idea what's going on, right? So things like that is going to be pretty cool, just for the fact that they just added shooting out lights, right? That's going to add a whole new layer to that gameplay. I can't wait for that. So there's now an advanced repair system. They brought in a kind of band-aid repair system in 0.2 because I think they kind of got the idea that it was really silly that weapons were deteriorating in 0.2, but you couldn't really repair them. So they've brought in the main kind of advanced repair system and what they wanted to overall achieve, and not just the band-aid system. And so weapons and gear will now degrade through use of bullets and impacts, and you can repair them via your vendors or with repair kits. And to kind of just go over that a little bit more, there's these repair kits and you can see them up on the screen. You can take them out with you into the field, more things to buy and bring with you, and you can then use them if your gun's damaged or you've been out in the field a lot, because again you might not be going back to base as much now with all these kind of things like the cops, and be able to hand in your tasks a lot outside of the map, outside of the base and things like that. You're going to be out a bit more, and you think maybe your gun has started to really start wearing down a bit. You can now use these repair kits to kind of repair on the fly. But if it's like quite damaged, you can take it to the vendor, and I think from my understanding is they take the gun from you. You can't use it straight away, and there'll be like a time limit, and they repair it, and then you can you can get it back off them once it's done, right? So this advanced repair system is going to be pretty cool. I'm quite looking forward to that and seeing how that will in play. So they've got smooth scope zoom now, so it's going to be a lot more fluid going back and forth between the different types of zoom on your scopes, which is nice. Like I said, we talked about the localization a little bit. They're adding a lot of languages: German, French, Portuguese, Spanish, Italian, Polish, Czech, Turkish, Chinese, Korean, Japanese. They're adding quite a few languages to it, so if you you want it in that kind of language, you can now, which is really awesome. They're rebalancing the vendor system. This is a big one. All right, so they're adjusting the vendor stock, the levels and availability of the vendor system, and they're also adding a level 4 to the vendors. This is awesome. So from my understanding, they're going to mix things up. When I was talking to Corey, they said something like, one of the things I brought up was our SMG is going to be a little bit better because, for example, you unlock Banshee a little bit later on down the line, and when you can start actually buying things like the MP5, they're pretty useless in the game. They weren't really that great in the POIs you're trying to do, and so they're kind of just like a pointless gun. You end up just using like the M4, and so I think what they want to achieve is at level 1, the things which are going to be accessed are like the SMGs, the AKS-74U, for example, the MP5. They're going to be like things you can buy at the start, which are going to be really handy to use in those kind of level 1 areas. And then later on down the line, the bigger guns will unlock at your level 2 and 3, and then 4, better ammo and all that kind of stuff coming along later on that, on the higher levels. So I quite like this. I'm looking forward to seeing how they rebalance it, what they add as level 1, and seeing how they go on that. I think that's really good. And last but not least, I want to talk about, just as a brief one, and we're going to go into my favorite things I want to talk about, is the improved ambient audio. So we've fine-tuned in-game audio, including lowering the volume of the fauna and other environmental sounds, hopefully the mosquitoes, because I always laugh about this. I don't notice the mosquito sounds. I think it's just being a dad gamer. Like, if you're used to like a screaming kid, like a 6-month-old kid, he's steaming when he's like wants his food and stuff. You just switch off from that noise. It's like a little switch. You just switch off and you're used to it. I do this in this game. I swear, like I do not notice the mosquito sounds, but every single time I'm streaming, you guys are like, this mosquito sound is annoying. The mosquito sound is annoying. I don't like this sound. I see it all the time. So hopefully, if the devs are watching, if that's a part of that, lower those damn mosquito sounds. People don't like them. All right, so yeah, they're improving the ambient audio. I'm looking forward to that. So now let's get into the bread and butter of 0.3. For me, you know, I want to talk about the more about the PvP stuff, some of the things I'm really looking forward to. Let's get into that. So this is a part of a few things, the limb damage and the health system and all that, and be able to shoot things like the torso. But when you shoot the AI now, if you play this video, you can see like that's going to start staggering and you're going to get like limping features and stuff like that. And I think there's also, like I said, it looks like players too, right? So if you're getting shot in the leg, you're going to start limping and there's going to be more effects to how you get shot, right? There's going to be a lot of things in that kind of sense. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this plays out. And in PvP and PvE, but also against the AI. Like if you're using a shotgun, for example, and the spread is a little bit too much and it smacks, you know, a bit of them in the leg, maybe they'll start limping a bit, you know. I'm interested to see how this will play in the game, but this is something I'm looking forward to from both a PvP aspect and a PvE aspect. I think this is going to be pretty cool. So I think many of you guys have seen this, the kind of weather system. It looks absolutely gorgeous. One of the concerns is obviously the performance impact of this, but they did talk about how they're improving performance all the time in their recent stream. And so I'm okay with it. I think it's going to be good, but I think this is going to add a lot of cool things in terms of not only does it look absolutely bloody amazing, but in places like when it gets to the nighttime, right? And it's really cloudy and it gets night, it's no longer going to be like the bright moon dining on Lemang. So at the minute in 0.2, you really don't have to use night vision. It's just literally no point using night vision. I think this will make it so you have to use night vision in the kind of times where the weather is like this. You're going to have to use a flashlight or night vision. And it's going to add into the play of PvP in terms of like, when you get into a fight at, say, a cob, for example, do you bring a flashlight along, which is one going to give you position away, but it's also a counter to night vision, because if you flash a flashlight into someone's face who's got night vision on, it's going to make him so they can't see well, right? So it's like, do you bring a flashlight? At least have one on you. When do you use it? Night vision, it's going to make it so you maybe want to actually bring night vision along. You'll have the use of using those infrared lasers more. And then obviously other people who've got the night vision are going to see those lasers. So it's going to be a lot more of like a how to play a certain cob and attack a certain cob, along with the weather system coming in. This is also going to dampen most probably footstep sounds and stuff like that, as you're going to hear the rain going. From my understanding, from what Corey said, the rain's not going to be ridiculously loud like it is in places like Tarkov. It's something he, as he knew, I played Tarkov, and he said it's not going to be like that. So that's going to be nice. It's just going to be kind of, you can kind of hear it a little bit as it's going, but yeah, it's not as going to be as bad. So the first thing I want to talk about is these PvP zones. You can see where they're like highlighting up here and just kind of like popping up around a place where there's like fights going. And so it's going to give you an idea where you should be going to help out your teammate if you're in PvP, define PvP. And from my understanding, these these hotspots, these big PvP zones, and these are 200 meters radius now, from my understanding. They were originally 100, and I don't know if this is showing the 100 meter radius. I think it is. I think they've been increased from my understanding, and they're still testing it, and we don't know exactly how big small it's going to be yet, but I think it's at 200 a minute. But these are going to highlight, and inside these zones is going to be more XP, right? You're going to get more XP from these. Now, one of the biggest things I see is people getting bored shooting AI constantly, trying to get their level 50 going, right? Trying to get the level 50 skin unlocked and all that kind of thing. It's like a goal to the veterans who play it a lot, right? Is we want to try and get that level 50 done. This is going to actually add a lot more to that now. These PvP zones, you can chase these PvP zones, and getting kills in there is going to give you and net you more XP. Now, if these PvP zones are in places where there could be also AI, I wonder if the AI XP increases too. Something I want to know about, and maybe if the devs could comment if they actually see this video or not. But I think this is going to help with the people grinding to level 50 too and trying to get their XP up more. Is these zones are not only handy to figure out where PvP is, it's going to level you up more too on top of that. So just take note of these. These are going to be really awesome for one, finding PvP, two, leveling up. But also, the other thing I want to talk about is the dirty extract campers, the people who like to camp the LZs and get their kills there. If there's a fight starting at an LZ, it's going to highlight that and it's going to give you an idea maybe to avoid that LZ. That seems to be a hot spot at the minute. Maybe not go there. And so it's going to help a little bit more in terms of LZ camping. People camping LZs and extract is always a thing in extraction games. It happens everywhere. Delta Force, it didn't happen as much, but there's still scribberdibs who like to do it. Tarkov had it quite a bit, and it's always a thing. So this is great because it's actually going to give you visual information about places where there could be people camping those extracts. So give you that information. So that's another plus to these PvP zones. They're going to give you a lot of, just a simple thing getting added here is going to give you a lot of information and a lot of kind of extra gameplay elements added into it just from this kind of simple things that are getting added in. It's awesome. I think this is great. So here's the cops, and they're scattered all around the place. These are the little control points you can capture for your faction. And from what we can see in this picture, for example, this one's red. So this is going to be one which is occupied by an enemy faction. And then you got the ones which you're not occupied yet, and you can go and capture them. One thing I've noticed in here is, like, you see these little dots in the middle? Some of them have got 1, some of them have got a 3 on them. I think there's going to be different levels to these where, certain ones are like smaller, some ones are bigger. And could be a possibility that some of the higher ones have some extra benefits to them. We never know. But you got a load of them, scattered around here, all around the different POIs. And it's going to make it so you want to capture these as a faction, at least 1 or 2 of them. Even in PvE, it's going to be beneficial for you because if you're doing missions at Fort Tenerife, instead of having, and you start your Le Mans, instead of having to fly all the way over each time you die, you can spawn at one of these and then just go in and carry on doing your mission. And there's a load of them about here. So it's for anyone who's looking for PvP, you got a load of things you can be doing here. And obviously you can see the ones which are controlled by enemies, the ones which are not. And the PvP zones, which we were just talking about beforehand, you're going to see them popping up at these areas. So you're going to know which kind of fobs or cobs, are, active and which ones are not too. So it's going to give you, good places to fight, good places to defend, what ones are active and getting taken for you. So if you're like just taking one, for example, maybe 4 down here at midnight, and then someone comes along from an enemy faction, kills someone there, you can see it getting, someone's getting in a fight here. Oh, you need to go and defend this because you want to defend it because you don't want to, if you die again at midnight, you don't want to lose this control point. You want to keep it so you can spawn on it, for example. So there's going to be a lot of things to do. It's going to add extra to the gameplay before going and doing your missions. I'm going to be, for example, if I'm going to one of these high tier POIs, especially like Tiger Bay or Fort Tenerife, I'm going to capture one of these if they're not captured by our team already, because I want an easier spawn point to be able to then go back to Fort Tenerife if I die and muck up, right? And, to be able to, re-kit myself out. Maybe I've just done a mission for Fort Tenerife, used up a lot of ammo, used up some meds and stuff. I just want to re-kit up quickly. I can just quickly travel back to my nearest cop and, re-kit myself up again and carry on with the missions I'm doing over at Fort Tenerife. So there's a lot of really good kind of things come with these cops for both PvP and PvE. And this is something I'm really, really looking forward to. I can't wait to get involved with this. And there's going to be some really fun content, I think, as a content creator side of things. Pairing up with, other guys. Mithras, by the way, what we're going to be. I'm going to try. We're going to be able to maybe try and capture some of these control points and see how long we can hold them off for, you know, especially these big ones. See how long we can hold them off, you know, from other factions and stuff like that. I can't wait. I think it's going to be a lot of really fun interactions there. And so, yeah, this comes to the end of the video for me. This is what I wanted to speak about so far. We kind of covered most stuff. There's obviously a lot more coming into 0.3, but I wanted to just kind of brush up on the things I'm looking forward to, a lot of the cool things coming, and I can't wait. Now, for the release date, for the people asking, I don't know the release date. We don't know what that is yet. We just know it's spring, so that could be end of April, end of May, you know, or anywhere in between, right? We don't know yet. We do know there is coming up in April, a community test which you can sign up to and get into to maybe possibly test out 0.3 and try and find some bugs and issues in the game. The reason why if you sign up to it is not just to play 0.3, right? Go in it with the mindset of, wait, okay, is this buggy? Why is this not working? How can we improve this? And really give some decent feedback, because that's what they're looking for. You know, it's what they it's a pre-alpha game, pre-early access game, as they're trying to get feedback from everyone. And the devs are great at listening to community feedback, aka 0.3, where they've changed the whole, you know, plan of what 0.3 originally was to listen to the community to add certain things. They're listening. So this 0.3 test patch coming in April is going to be vital to really aid in making the full release of 0.3 better. All right. So that's coming out in April. Keep a look at that. If I was a betting man and I was thinking when this is going to come out, I think it's going to come out mid-May or maybe end of May. I think a few people were thinking that it could come out at the end of April. It could possibly. We don't know. If we was talking about 0.2, when 0.2 kind of came out, I can remember the same thing. The community test thing came out, and we was able to play it about a month after that, from my remembering from it 6 months ago. So most probably the same type of thing happens there. Whenever it comes out, the community part in April, have a feeling it's going to be a month after that, as most probably when we're going to start seeing a release date for it. But that's all I want to talk about. I hope you guys have an awesome day, evening or night, wherever you are. And for the people who follow me, want to see more of this, I am streaming Grey Zone Warfare at the minute. We've been doing like a speed run playthrough on Mithras, getting through all the missions pretty fast. And we've gotten through pretty fast, to be honest. We've already got level 3 traders for most. I think we've only got like a little tenth of a way to go for Turncoat. And we've done all the level 3s. And we're going to attempt to do the final mission solo again too. So we've all got that coming up. If you want to catch my streams, are on both Twitch and YouTube. And one thing to talk about with Twitch coming up is there's going to be drops coming in 0.3 for Twitch. So if you do watch on Twitch, or you don't watch on Twitch, maybe you watch me on YouTube, maybe start watching me also on Twitch, or have it up on there, because when 0.3 comes, there's going to be some drops coming. And they're going to be exclusive for your account. They're not going to disappear on wipes. You know, they're going to be like skins and stuff, which you can have for your account for the foreseeable future. So keep an eye on that if you are interested. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you soon for some more Grey Zone Warfare.